So we're going to talk a little bit about events, and just to give you a quick backstory. So this is our 4th year, right, with Give More 24. We're going into 4, I think. Yep. So we've been involved, High Five Media, we've been involved since the 1st year.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we really enjoy doing is we go out the day of, and I mean, it's kind of like a mad 18 hours where we visit the nonprofits that are doing events, and we'll go and capture, video, we'll do some live feeds, we'll do, photos, everything, and just kind of post like what's happening, what's going on. It's a lot of fun. And so through that experience, we've seen really good events, and we've seen good events that could be better or even better attended if they had a little bit of this setup done. And that's why we're here today to talk a little bit about what kind of events. I know that events sound so overwhelming to people, and that's the feedback we hear. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to get the day figured out, and now I've got to put on an event. So we want to talk through a little bit about events.
Yeah, and also remembering that an event, you can define what event means. There are organizations that don't have a physical event for people to come to because they know that isn't the best use of their efforts. So calling their Give More 24 campaign and all of their day of work an event is what they do. And they make it about, posting specific Facebook posts throughout the day. But they have planned it through just like an event. So it's about basically using event loosely and saying, build what works for your organization.
Uh-oh. Hold on.
Oh, Java, SE runtime. I'm a Mac person. I don't know.
Do I just say yes?
No.
No? Okay. You can see that's what I'm like at home. Yes, yes, yes on everything. That's why I have so many viruses.
All these Nigerian princes want to hear from Jim.
All the time. I don't get it. So Temple's totally right, because an event right now you could start where you're just gathering from your supporters engagement. Like you could do a photo contest. You could do a video contest. And then leading up, you could highlight some of the videos, or the day up you could do it, which we'll talk about as we go. But let's talk a little bit about events right now, just kind of the setup. So right now you should be planning what it is you're going to do with your event. And again, you can look at the list that you created at the beginning today with your key talking points, your messaging, the channels you want to use, and you could think what could work out of that. That would be an event that's doable and that's going to hopefully be successful. And then in August, you move into, or do you have anything to add to that? Nope. And then in August, we move into setting that agenda and the outline, and basically thinking about everything that's going to be put into making that happen. Again, I go back to kind of like whether it's, a wedding or a birthday party. I mean, we've all created events in different ways throughout our life. And within our organization, we've probably had fundraising events and maybe different meetings and gatherings and whatever that looks like. You can go pretty small. It could be an event that's just, there's one organization that did an event just for their board of directors. And they wanted to have kind of a little gathering to celebrate Give More 24 and to highlight, the process, everything that they've done. And other groups have had parking lot parties, and they've had lip syncing contests in the middle of a huge parking lot, right? So it can be across the board what you want to do and how you want to execute that event. So August is setting the agenda, working on the outline, creating that Facebook event, starting the promos. But again, you don't want to overkill the promos in August. The best time to start overkilling is when people go back to school, because everybody's starting to engage again, and they're starting to be, a little bit like, oh, it's September, paying attention. So starting up in September, that's when you really want to start the promotion. And again, Facebook ads, press releases, all of those things will play up to the day of. And then finally, for the setup of the event, what's it going to take? Temple mentioned a duck tank, right? So you got to order it. You got to make sure, because maybe there's 3 other nonprofits that want to use it, and maybe in Clark County there's only 2. So you want to make sure that you get in on that. If you're going to advertise, whatever channel, whether it's the Columbian, we talked about this already, you want to lock in so that there's space so that they can advertise your event and promote your event. Whatever rental you might want to use, where it's going to be, right? The location, do you have to pay for it? Are you going to do it within your own offices? Are you going to do an open house? Are you going to get creative? We've had some that are looking at carpool karaoke. So get some of the local community leaders to participate and how that would look. So across the board, we wanted you to just see that this is the time to really start. A lot of people wait till the very end to do it. And I do want to point out, this is kind of cheesy, but it's so true. A lot of times people think that, oh, I'm going to create an event, people are going to show up. And we've learned in all the work that we've done, it does not work that way. It takes a lot of behind the scenes work to set it up. And Temple's going to talk a little bit about what she created for the Parks Foundation and all the back work to make that a success.
Yeah, and just to remind you, so I actually hit the things that I'm supposed to talk about. So, well, 2 years ago at the Parks Foundation, we created Swing More 24, which was racking our brains saying, okay, Parks Foundation, we want to participate in Give More 24. What the heck is our gimmick going to be? What's our event going to be? And we realized that for the Parks Foundation, sharing the story of the value that parks bring to our community was the most important part. And there really are, Parks Foundation covers all of Clark County. And what I realized when we were talking about where to go with all of this is that there's a couple of hundred parks. They impact everybody. So let's focus on the joy that they bring. And we got local, the first year it was a lot of elected officials, because with the campaign thing, those were my connections at the time. And amazingly, during an election year, you can get politicians to do most things. But then we also branched out to other community leaders and other people who had their own networks that we could tap into for the Parks Foundation and build that funding and build that support. And we got local people out on the swings in the parks. And we scheduled times, and what it was getting them out there. So we had this great PR opportunity for, look at businesses. Leanne was involved with her business at the time, and come out and see Mayor Tim Levitt on a swing set in Nestor Shore Park. For 20 minutes, he can't get out of the swing, so you can come and donate to us and say whatever you want to say to him. Note, I was Tim Levitt's first mayoral campaign manager, so I have earned the privilege of talking like that about him.
Everybody took stuff.
Yeah, we've all earned the privilege. We live here. But it was really fun, and it was a way to say, like, hey, here's this thing, and you don't usually see it. You don't usually see these folks out playing in the parks. So as far as setting up the event, the first thing we did was plan it and book the parks and make sure that we were allowed to use them and all the permitting and things like that were necessary. Yes, even when you're a semi-public agency, you still need a permit. Thanks, City of Vancouver and Clark County. And then figure out what the day is going to be. In the case of the parks and the Swing More event, it was contacting all of these people who we wanted to have be on the swings, and scheduling them, making sure that it worked for them, letting them know what we expected of them. There was both getting them on the actual schedule, and then there was sending them the information about the messages we wanted them to deliver. Because key to this wasn't just getting them on the swing, that's fantastic, but also having them send it out to their network and share it and talk about it and help us promote it. That was a lot of the point. We're using these folks to reach their networks as well, because they support what we do. Put it out to your people. And then creating all the Facebook stuff. And as we got closer and closer to the event, there was, what's our signage going to be? What are our Facebook posts going to be? What's going to be in our emails? What are we going to put on our website? All the things we've already talked about, as well as consistent communication with all of the people involved, all of the different individuals and organizations in some cases who were participating, to make sure that they were on board through the entire process. That was probably the most time-intensive thing for the entire swing. The day of, it kind of just rolls. If you've planned it well, it does just happen. The work on the front end is making sure that the people show up to be there with you.
And as a swinger, it was really helpful because Gary Bach and I think we did the last 2 years, we would take like a half hour. And when Temple asks, you're like, okay, I'll do it. And then you kind of forget, and other things are going on, and we were already coordinating a lot of stuff with Give More 24. But what was so helpful, and Temple is really good at this, and I've seen this with other nonprofits, is that follow through of, hey, you committed, here's your time, And then the day before, here's you're gonna do, and then here's the post that you should put on Facebook. I mean, she made it so simple that I could just open up my email, oh, I gotta do this, and then I shared it on Facebook, let people know, hey, come on down, we're gonna be swinging, or on the swing set. And it's those kind of little pieces that sometimes we forget or we overlook. And that's where it goes back to like that empty room, that just because you say, hey, we're gonna do swing more, right? People are gonna show up and swing. There's so much work that goes into organizing and coordinating, and then really just badgering and telling them, hey, you gotta be there, remember, don't forget. And especially working with elected officials, it's always hard to make sure that they're gonna show up and be there. So it's that follow through, and again, that's all leading up to exactly what Temple said. The day of, she could just sit back and everything hopefully would run, smooth. So that's one piece, yes?
Did you guys have a computer at the park for people to be able to use?
We had our phones and a couple of iPads. And I would say actually that was probably the most complicated thing, was since we were out of these parks, making sure that we either had good data plan, as my contribution to the organization, or we were close to Wi-Fi, or figuring out that part of it. Because yeah, one of the things we wanted to do was be on site. If people were gonna come out and visibly be there, we wanted to be able to take their donations easily and effectively. So yeah, we had a few iPads and phones running around.
You did such a good job. It made it so much fun to participate, and we did kind of a satellite, because you were mostly down at Esther Short and we were up at Hagen. The signage, the wording, so that, because the people coming up, we had people, first of all, I had a blast with signs all over the back of the store with that swinging thing.
Yeah.
Store manager that almost
Right.
took some down, but I got the staff out there because of it. So it was great wording, but the sign, like somebody walking by going, what are you doing? Well, we're swinging for parks. Do you want to swing for parks? And then quickly, what we want is for you to be on that swing. We're going to take your picture here, hold this sign. Now share that. I'm gonna tag you on mine so that you can share that out, and then people just kind of, it was beautiful.
And to continue the Mutual Admiration Society that we've got going here, but I want to say, like, Leanne was a great example of a constituent and a partner who really helped make it possible for us to do what we did. So we went out to the east side last year, and we weren't able to really do that very effectively because we were a staff of 2.5. And we just couldn't be everywhere all the time. And so by having Leanne and New Seasons on board, they were basically, we said, please run with this. And Leanne really, because we were so short-staffed, a lot of communication back and forth with her, but she became kind of our satellite for that location and made it possible for us to do that. And so that was a case where reach out into your networks, find your supporters, find your people, and make it easy. Yeah, and then hopefully find people who are super competent and make it easy for you too. Just if you get that magical situation, then it really, you can do a lot. And then telling the stories about it afterwards, you're able to say like, wow, we have a lot of community support for this thing.
So since there's only one day of, right, how do you make sure that the event you plan isn't going to conflict with other events that might draw the same donors and audience? I mean, do you coordinate, do you kind of check out what other people are scheduling, or how do you do that?
It's a great. And again, the question was, how do you coordinate so you're not having a conflict in time with another event going on? And in the couple years, that or the last 3 years, sometimes, people will party hop. We've seen that. People will show up at different events throughout the day. Last year they had Vancouver Mall as one of the giving lounges, and they had different nonprofits we would bring in and kind of interview them and have them play some fun games. And it was a way of like highlighting what they did during the day, because some of them came up on stage and shared, hey, our organization did this. But really, I think it's just going for it. What works best for your organization, what works best for your board members and the volunteers, so that they can be there. If it's a school, you might want to do it during the school day, right? If it's something where you want to bring families and kids, you probably don't want to do it during the school day, for them to come after school. So I think there's just a lot of different ways to look at what's best for you.
Yeah, and if there's like-minded organizations where, like one of the things that Cameron expressed was where you're probably trying to talk to the same people. If there's another organization that you may have an alliance or an affinity with, could also reach out to them. I mean, there may be a way to either be like, okay, we're gonna schedule this, you schedule that, so let's, support each other and go separately. Or you may also wanna look at combining your efforts, depending on what you have going, and work together on it to draw an even bigger audience that can support both of you, or all 3 or 5 or 7.
One thing too, just to really think about, especially if this is your first year or second year, we're going to go through and talk a little bit about a few of the events, and then we're going to just kind of share some events we've heard of and that other organizations have done, not just here locally, just so you can kind of think and brainstorm in your mind what you could do. We're not saying you have to do it this year. Really, you could start the groundwork today for your event in 2018. So don't think like, oh my gosh, I only got a month and I'm so overwhelmed. This is the time to just put the ideas on the table, see what works, work with your board, work with your executive director, and then next year you could start even in January, February, laying that groundwork. Again, if we want to fill the room, I just love this photo. You have, it's going to take the hard work, it's going to take the promotion, and you just might not have the capacity and the bandwidth right now to do it for this year. So don't feel overwhelmed when we start sharing some of the cool and different events that people have done.
Yeah, and as with anything, whether it's volunteer management, fundraising, all of it, success inspires success. So setting an achievable, a good stretch goal where you're actually reaching for it, but an achievable one so that you can have the success and then move, then increase it as you go. Especially if this is your first year or second year, you're just getting started, you don't have to do it all. Just choose what you're going to do and try to knock that out of the park.
Quick questions up to this point? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about a few events that organizations have done over the last couple of years. And the first one I'm going to talk a little bit about is the Foundation for the Vancouver Public Schools Foundation. And they did what was called a band-o-gram. And so they worked with beaches and they, talked with Mark Mathias. They set up a plan where they took one of the beaches, vans that they use for shuttling. And they had a band, which I believe was River Twain.
Yeah.
And River Twain were set up in the van, and people could donate to have the band show up and play at their place of work or at their school or their nonprofit. And so they, you've got River Twain playing, and they just start, driving all around downtown, and they had it set up for like 15-minute intervals, and they'd pull up in front of your place of work, or they'd even show up and go into the building. I remember the Columbian, I think, set up when I jumped on, I think when Tim, the mayor, was on, and a couple other community people would drive around as well. So it was kind of like just a little party in this bus. And I remember they showed up at the Columbian, and they went in and did like a whole appreciation to the reporters and to the people that worked there. And it was a lot of fun, and the band came in and played inside. And so again, kind of a little bit of an out of the box, right? Does it really, when you think public schools, you're thinking a band-o-gram, okay? But they really thought out of the box and did something different and fun. And again, a lot of coordination, right? So they had to look into renting the band or making sure that they could have it donated for the use of the day, finding a band that could play, especially a band that didn't need a lot of technical setup, right? They could just play in the band or play in the van. And then organizing, similar to Swing More, having different community people there signed up throughout the day to kind of cruise around with them. So that was a pretty successful one.
Yeah, and one that I didn't actually see it in person, but I saw it all over Facebook, was the Boys and Girls Clubs did a really nice campaign that was somewhat on site because they had the clubs going throughout the day, but they got a lot of the kids involved and like had the kids make signs saying thank you and that kind of thing, and then holding up the signs and pictures and videos for that. Much like babies and animals, cute kids saying thank you is social media gold. So they really nailed that. But it was also able to, because these kids were expressing the message, they were able to also tap into this message of what the Boys and Girls Clubs does. And that was really cool and super effective.
And then did you have something on the food bank? Okay. Leadership Clark County. I'm on the board of Leadership Clark County, and they wanted to do something a little bit different. And so they worked with Russell Brent out at Mill Creek Brew Pub in Battleground, And they decided, hey, why don't we go north, set something up? So they actually set up kind of a giving lounge out there, not just for Leadership Clark County, but people could come and give to other nonprofits. But that's where we had the infamous dunk tank, right, out there. And so throughout the whole day from, I believe, like noon till 7 or 8, people could come out. And again, they would have signups for different elected officials, community leaders. I believe, the chief of police, the sheriff, different people participated. You could come out, you would donate. I think it was like $10 for a throw or for a couple balls to throw. And so it was kind of a cool idea to really engage. And what I like about this event, it was kind of out of the area. Sometimes people just get so close to downtown area. This kind of brought in the Battleground in North County area. And it was a pretty good success just to have something a little bit different. And I believe the year before that, they tied in with a few nonprofits out there. And Russell's always open to working with local groups and using their facility for a place to stage and to have events.
And I wasn't going to talk about it, but now I am, because I was reminded it's super cool. Something that the Clark County Food Bank did was they decided, a lot of our partners are local stores, local grocery stores, food vendors. So on the day of, they went around and went to 24, one every hour, different partner organizations, and did a Facebook post, did a little live action, so featured all of these partners who make the work they do possible. So that was great, and I really liked the fact that that wasn't just look how great we are, but look how great our community is. We can't do this without each other. And a long day. I mean, if you're going to do something for 24 hours, perhaps consider shifts, because that is a long time.
I was going to bring that up earlier. I think that's a really effective strategy. I remember a couple of years ago, Party Hockey, not just the organization I was with at that time, didn't have a lot of name recognition, and that gives community awareness. And my parents loved that I was at the parks, that I was at the Houck Foundation, that I went by the Kim's thing in the dunk tank. That whole day roving reporting on what was going on in the community, my audience loved.
Yeah, no, and that's great. Yeah, and last year when we were doing, one of our key sites was the Esther Short Park for the Swingmore 24. And at the time, the Clark County Historical Museum, he was doing, I can't remember what his awesome name for it was, but basically tours, like 24 hours of walking tours. And he like outfitted his bike helmet with a camera so he could like do it as a selfie. But he was coming by and doing one of his tours when we were doing the swinging, so we were able to have some joint promotion too. So a little mutual love for the Clark County Historical Museum and Parks Foundation at the same time.
No, totally.
So there may be opportunities for just serendipity like that. Oh, and this was just a neat one, which Marcus was here earlier, but I think he skipped town. But something that Teach One to Lead One did that I was going to ask him to tell us more about, put him on the spot, because I thought it was super cool. They did a service day at Sifton Elementary. So they were fundraising, but they decided, since the heart of their organization is service, that they were going to spend their time on Give More 24 Day doing service. So they went to the school and did car washes for the teachers' cars. They did a food drive. They gave haircuts to the students. And they just basically, rather than just saying, look at all the good we do, they actually showed it, which was a fantastic way to tap into their organization.
So really, we just wanted to kind of do a quick thinking out of the box. Some of the other events we've heard of, other events that we've seen done, not just tied into Give More 24, but again, sometimes it's this viral thing. If you're going to do something different, you want it to be shared, you want people to be talking about it. And so it's how you can play it to social media, it's how you can play it in an easy way with Facebook Live. And so Temple mentioned already the grocery store, that's kind of cool, it's engaging. And if you have a list, ahead of time, here's all the grocery stores, or here's where we're going to be, people that are following you could go out, and check in and see you there, get a picture with you. I know a group that we're talking about doing like a stand-up, like a cheesy, cardboard stand-up of their executive director, and then they were going to bring it to different locations throughout the day in the county, let people know, and they can go up and draw stuff on it, lipstick, have some fun, whatever. That was my plan when Temple was working at the parks, but for some reason that didn't go over. But it's that kind of creativity by doing these 24-hour ideas. The other one was the piano, playing the piano for 24 hours, which the Piano Hospital, they did that, and that was kind of cool. People setting up, again, when they do the pianos around town was very popular. The hearts around town, which I believe was done a few years back, which was huge success. Again, it doesn't always have to be tied to Give More 24 Day. It's all about that brand awareness. It's all about building the awareness. It's sometimes coming up with a group of your volunteers to go out and do something fun and goofy and film it and then put it out there on Facebook or on your website, and people kind of engage. It's those the mob scenes that they would do, or those where people would show up, the flash mobs. You know, when I was involved heavily in the Vancouver Farmers Market, we would have probably 2 or 3 times a summer a flash mob would show up and want to do something crazy at the market and have cameras set up. And it was a lot of fun, and it was a way for their organization to grow a little bit more awareness. One thing that I heard that people are doing down in California, and I believe one of the late night guys set this up, but I found it very cheesy and funny, where you could get an entire banner that says Give More 24. I mean, and if you think about it, something that would cross an entire street, and then you get some of your Temple's like, where is he going with this? You get a couple volunteers to go out, and when the light stops at a stoplight, you roll it out. Like I could see this like at Mill Plain and Chekhov, you know, you just roll out, so all the cars, and then you film, getting people's reaction, like, what? And everyone's like waving at the camera, and then you just roll it back up and you leave. Well, you film that, you know, because you get about, what, a minute?
Not endorsed by the Community Foundation.
I know, they're all like, what are you talking about?
Put Jim's phone number on the bottom of the banner.
But there were 3 organizations that recently pulled it off down. It was Prince Jackson that has the Heal the World Foundation. They did it down in LA, and they brought in, it was like this huge awareness, and they had people going around and just opening up this huge banner in random places throughout Los Angeles. And it got, I mean, because people started sharing it, people started seeing them on an overpass. They opened it up in a mall, and it was kind of funny because then they're like, well, you can't be in here, and they're trying to like kick them out, and they had it videotaped. So it's, again, those kind of fun but different ways to promote what you're doing and to kind of get that viral message out there. Anything to add?
And just that sort of spirit of fun on the day of is something to kind of keep in mind. And especially when you're exhausted and are trying to hold everything together, one of the things that like I personally find really compelling about Give More 24 is it is this day where the entire community, it seems like, is out talking about and promoting the good they're doing in the community. And it can be overwhelming to your Facebook feed, to your email feed, to all of that. But it's also a real testament to the great organizations we have going in the community and the people who support them more specifically. So that sense of fun, of 24 hours of just everybody being out talking about what they do and sharing it is really cool.
So it is, totally. And one of the things that's kind of cool when you're in a setting like a school that people are doing, where you have the classroom, you know, the competition within the classrooms can be a lot of fun. And you could set something up throughout the day where, or even the week leading up, where the classrooms are going to their parents, or, you know, the students are going to their parents and they're fundraising. And again, you could be collecting some of those dollar amounts leading up to the event, right? So they're out there and each class is competing against each other. You could have like a chart somewhere set up in a place where the kids could see it. Or if you have like morning announcements, they could be updating, here's the top 3 classrooms and here's who's in the lead. And you know, they're out there fundraising. And then you just have this cool party at the end of the day for the top class. And you're just ready, you know, they'll get pizza, cupcakes, whatever. And you just show up and you just make this really cool, fun experience for the students. And then even like the top 2 or 3 classes could still get something too, so they're not left out. But you could have a lot of fun by incorporating the students, or again, if you're in an organization that has access to students or to classes, there's a way that you could set that up to utilize. It can be a huge benefit. The other one we have is, the children's theater. We've had a few different theater groups, acting, performing groups, where they would just do random pop-up theater performances around the community. So again, thinking of locations you could go, whether it's coffee shops, of course, again, this is the setup part, talking to the coffee shop owners, making sure it's good, having them go in and just, you know, doing a little bit of a play or a few songs. Again, it's great for Facebook Live. It's great for just the videotape and utilize later. But another way to gain a little bit of attention.
Yeah, so depending on your organization, you're going to come up with the best ideas. Your people know your people. And so coming up with those, finding a way to have some fun is a great way to do it. It gets people more excited. The heart-wrenching stories are great for bringing in dollars, but the fun and showing that you are able to bring people together for a common cause is very effective with Give More 24 as well.
And as we already talked a little bit about, carpool karaoke is something that I know one of the groups were working on last year. And again, it's just working on setting that up, having people participate. You know, again, there's just a lot of kind of, you know, groundwork to build up for that. But also talking about, I mean, again, community scavenger hunts, tours, all that kind of stuff, you know, which takes work and setup. But then the simple events, which we mentioned, just having an open house. I mean, what a great day to just invite the community to come and check out your place. We had Open House Ministries. They did like a really cool mural. And so they had people painting all day long, this really neat mural, and people could show up and just look at what they're working on throughout the day. And their goal was to have it done, I believe, in that day. And so there's so many different ways that you could use, you know, thinking out of the box, thinking about what do we offer that's a little different than the others, and accentuate that. And also, it's always nice to have an excuse to clean the office once a year, to have everybody show up. So hey, anything out there?
No, I think that's, yeah, whatever the resources are that you have for bringing people onto your site. If you just finished a capital campaign and you're embarking on a capital campaign, that's something great. If you have any visual resources, put them to use. Happy to.
Yeah, so really, we just left a little bit of time, and with such a beautiful day, we could get out early, which is always a plus. But any questions or comments or thoughts that you guys would like to run by us, or we will be available here afterwards to chat. Anything? Everybody want to get out of here?
I have a question.
Yes.
You talked about both Facebook posts and Facebook ads. So if you could tell me the difference.
Facebook.
I can tell you the difference.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Janie's on it.
Like I mentioned last week, and I don't know if you guys were here, I placed two $20 ads on Facebook, and they billed me for over $700.
What?
We had the same problem last year. Oh my.
Wow.
So I would never run another ad.
That is interesting.
And
So-
they don't, and it's like, it's a month later.
Yeah, that's when you get the bill.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, wait a minute, how did that happen?
Yeah, that's crazy.
And it was like,
That's,
we were only supposed to spend $250 and suddenly it's
so the only
$500.
thing, did you figure out what happened?
Oh, I investigated as much as I could, and my credit card company said, there's not a lot you can do, there's a lot of fine print, and this is not the first time that we've dealt with it.
Oh dear.
So I know, and I fall into this, that sometimes when you place and you say like $30, there's a button that says like ongoing one time. And sometimes people forget because they always have ongoing is the one that's pushed. You have to click, at least that's how it was when I did it last, one time. So then what happens is the ad will end after the $30 has been spent. But if you do $30 ongoing every day, they're going to be doing $30 ads for you.
It only ran for a couple of days, and I've got reams of
Papers.
up there with proof that what
Weird.
I did was wrong.
Interesting.
But to go from two $20 ads to over $700.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, that's crazy.
That is crazy. And they should be letting you know that they're spending your money.
Absolutely.
You know, as it goes, they're like, oh, you're at this much. Wow. All right, any other questions? All right, everybody, hey, thank you so much. We had a lot of fun. I hope this was helpful for you today. So,